Welcome back to the UpVote channel. Autistic people of Reddit, what is autism really like? You know that time you said something stupid and everyone looked at you like you grew a second head? Imagine feeling like that every time you talk to someone. I am a high-functioning autist. A friend of mine explained it to me like, imagine you're meeting someone new and right out of the gate they dump. I got molested as a child, so that's kind of like a duck in cold weather. You'd have a fearful mix of, holy shit WTF do I say now? But also, wait, what do they actually mean by that? And you get that feeling for almost every conversation with everyone forever. I'm not jealous. Social interactions that come to others naturally require a lot of thought and planning in my situation. For lack of a better analogy, I have mental checklists for every social event under the sun. Obsessions are amped up from non-autistic people, as are following rituals. Every night when I get home, I have dinner and watch The Simpsons, no ifs, ands, or buts. I work as a chef, and my supervisor and I have a certain code word, traffic, that if I mention it out of the blue, it means I need to cool off for a few. I'm getting overloaded here. I've got more to post, but I'm also working breakfast, so I'll leave it for now. Edit. Wow. Did not expect this to blow up so fast. Naturally, I don't have time to answer every question, sorry. So I'll explain a few things that'll hopefully clear up most, if not all of the questions. The kitchen environment is fairly stressful, but we have a great team that I know has my back. And we have a fairly simple menu, so it's more a high volume of orders that's stressful. My supervisor/head chef is a great guy, and I had the foresight to mention that I have autism the first service we worked. It's a fairly new place, so we were there together from day one. We often hang out outside of work, so we are pretty in touch with each other. He's not a pushover though, so I know not to take a break if we are deep in the weeds. Since we opened mid-October, I've only had to use the code word once. Admittedly, he soon followed me in banging our heads against the door after an unusually bad experience with an apprentice. We have the sort of relationship where we joke around with each other. He calls me Gump, I make fun of his misspelled arm tattoo, that sort of thing. Social interactions, when I say mental checklists, it's more like a dichotomous key in my head that's really drawn out. For example, I frequent my local nightclub, so my checklist may read as follows. Nice security guard like banter. Don't get startled by the joke. Noogie jerk security guard I.D. Don't hang about. Bar quiet, engage bartender in conversation. Ask for cocktail bar pack, just order. Women animated in conversation, leave them be. Women bored/lonely looking/smiling at me, approach and engage in banter/attempt pickup line, etc. All this is almost in a robotic voice in my psyche, not natural at all. 3. My routine. If my routine is disturbed, I get moody, but it's not a catastrophe. Of course, if I'm not at home, or something comes up, I've learned to let it go, but if possible, I follow the routine to a T. Lastly, if you are unsure whether or not you have autism, please ask a professional. When diagnosed, the doors to managing the system will be a lot easier to open. I think that's all for now. I have high-functioning autism as well as anxiety, so some of this may be the anxiety, but I find it really hard maintaining friendships at all. For example, I left 1.5 years ago and haven't spoken to one of them in over a year because I quite honestly didn't know how. I also find communicating really hard. It takes a lot of effort, and I would find meeting someone new really hard with me having no idea where to go past hello, and me getting a stutter is also quite likely. I don't cope well with changes from a routine. For example, I will eat the same meals each day and foods, but going off of it is really quite stressful. I am also really bad with emotions, and I rarely talk about them at all, and won't unless prompted explicitly, and am really oblivious on the whole, and really can't explain it. A bit like trying to explain what left is to someone with no place to reference. A bit of another side effect is at the moment, I have no social life as I don't know how to keep one. The last one I had was at school, and I wouldn't describe it as close owing to the fact I never saw them outside of school, nor get one as I don't know how to meet people. What comes naturally to most people takes a lot of learning for me, and I always felt a step behind if not further. At the moment at least, I would love to be just a normal person and have this sort of stuff come naturally. All in all, I would say a bit lonely and frustrating when I notice. I am quite happy most of the time, but just the smallest thing can hit and change that. I am doing what I can to get better, but TI takes a lot of effort for what is for most people as simple as writing. I would like to thank everyone's kind words, advice, and offers to talk. I will try and answer all your questions. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are all fantastic, and this is really moving. I am amazed at the outpouring of sympathy, offers to be friends and advice. Thank you so much. While I live a pretty normal life, I have a lot of issues with sensory sensitivity, like loud noises, bright lights, certain food tastes, smells, and standing in crowds of people. These things make me feel a bit stressed out, resulting in various issues, like headaches and digestive problems. While we're on the subject, certain non-autistic people have the misconception that those of us on the spectrum would lack empathy. That is simply not true. We often have a hard time to read people, but we certainly do not lack human empathy. That needed to be said. I actually think that we have too much empathy. I oftentimes get visibly upset when I feel I hurt someone. My go-to analogy is to imagine being in a country where nobody speaks English, and you don't speak their language. You don't have a phrasebook, but you do have a translation dictionary. So you are speaking the words, but the syntax is way off, not to mention accent and pronunciation. You might think you're making sense and communicating well, but really people will be confused by you. Be sure to write in the comments what you think about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch our other videos.